Hi, boys and girls. Today is Thursday, March 19th, and we are going to continue our math with lesson 4. Today, again, we're going to be drawing a bar graph to represent some data that we've collected or that I've collected about you that you don't know yet. So the first thing I want you to do is, if you want to follow along, you're going to need to print another copy of that PDF file from yesterday that was called Lesson 3 Template 2. So if you want to follow along and you want to do it with me, you can. If you have a printer at home and you can print that. Otherwise, just watch as I do it and then we will keep on working, okay? All right, so the first thing you're going to do today, Lesson 4 Lesson 4 has two sprints. It has an A and a B. So I want you to do those sprints. And for those of you that want to time yourselves, you do not have to. Again, it's 4.5 minutes per sprint, but you all are faster than that anyway. So do your two sprints, and then one of the other review activities for today was counting coins again. So if you did it yesterday, then you know what to do. Get out some coins, count some money, practice counting your quarters or 25 cents and such. All right? Okay, so now that you've done, so pause, do that, and then now that you've done that, we are going to move on with today's lesson. Okay, so I'm going to get my brand new Lesson 3 Template 2 on this lap desk here and clipped, because we do not have a clipboard here at our house, so we're making do. Okay, so this is the sheet that I was talking about. All right. So the first thing I did was I made a couple of data charts. It's also called a table. And I made one of our class birthdays. So let me show that to you right now. All right, so I had to go on and look up everybody's birthday and figure out which season each one of you had a birthday in. So you can tell from my chart that spring, we've got 5 spring birthdays. We've got 3 summer birthdays, 7 fall birthdays, and 6 winter birthdays. So that is everybody in our class. Not my birthday's not in there. It's just the kids. Okay, so here is our data table. Now we're going to use this to create a chart of this information. So we are first we're going to use this top one here to do our birthdays. So let's see. Maybe I can hold it like this and then kind of write. So up top, the first thing we do when we make a graph is we want to put the title up there. And we're getting the title right off of the chart. So it's going to say our birthdays. And you'll remember from yesterday, this top chart is the one where the graph goes horizontally. And then the bottom one, the graph goes vertically. So since we're going to put this data on this graph here that goes horizontally, the next thing I think we should do is put the categories on. So these are our 4 categories. And I'm going to start and I'm going to put spring up here. I like to keep stuff like if spring is first, spring goes here first. If summer is second, summer goes here. It just helps me get my information from my table to the graph without getting confused. Then this one here will be fall. And then finally winter. Now, once you've got your title, which is the first thing, and you've got your categories, which is the second thing, the very next thing needs to be your scale here. So your scale right here, 0, and we are going to, for now, we're going to number it by ones. When we get a little more sophisticated, and we have larger numbers to put on graphs, we may have to number by 2s or 5s or 10s, but we're going to go by ones today. Okay, because our biggest number that we need to get on here, the fall, we have 7 people. So as long as we have 7 squares, we can number by ones. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we know we're not going to go past 7 with our data, Well, we're going to go ahead and continue numbering anyway, because like, what if we got a new student and then our new student had a fall birthday? And then we wanted to make sure we included them and put them on here. So we're going to let our chart go all the way up, 10, 11, okay, to 12, so that we could put more data on this chart if we got more students. All right, so now that we have our scale, we're going to go ahead and we're going to graph the numbers. Now notice we're not putting people's names on here, so we won't know exactly who are the winter birthdays once we start looking at the graph. We'll only know how many we have. So this might be something if we really needed to know who those 6 people were, say, that have winter birthdays. We could keep this down here at the bottom. But for now, we're just going to graph the numbers. So our spring birthdays, we have 5 of those. And you know what? I'm really having a shortage of markers that work around here, so I'm going to keep using the same color. But for those of you that want to make your graph stand out better, you might choose to use a different color for each one of these categories, because then it just makes the graph more appealing to look at and it's easier to read some of the information. So I'm going to keep using green though. So for spring, we've got 5. So remember how I showed you yesterday? Sometimes I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I make sure that my 5, that line is the end of 5. I make sure I didn't go too far. So that would be my stopping point. Now I'm going to go ahead and color this in. Okay, my summer, I have 3 summer birthdays. So 1, 2, 3. Make sure my 3, yep, there's the end there. Color in my 3 boxes. Fall, I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my largest one. That's the most common in our class. It's most common to have your birthday in the fall. And then winter, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there we go. Okay. So there you go. So now, if I take the table away, we can look at the graph and we can see this is our information here. And now we can start to compare the data. We can ask questions like, how many fewer students have birthdays in the summer than in the winter? Let's see, we have 3 summer birthdays and we have 6 winter birthdays. So there are 6 minus 3, there's 3 fewer students that have summer birthdays than winter birthdays. How many more students have a birthday in the fall than the winter? You might be able to tell just by looking at the graph. The fall is 1 longer, so 1 more birthday in fall than in winter. And there's lots of other comparison questions we can do now that we see this data. One question that you're going to see today on your work is, what if we had double the number of spring birthdays? How many would we have if we had double the number of spring birthdays that we have in our class now? So if we have 5 spring birthdays, you'd have to double that 5. 5 plus 5, or 2 groups of 5, which is 10. So then we would have 10. All right, I'm going to move a little bit quicker on the bottom graph because I think you guys have just about got it. I made a second table here, and I didn't know what everybody's favorite books were, so I just used the one in my book. But the one here, this is favorite books in our class. So there were 3 choices: The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, Click Clack Moo, Cows That Type, and Zen Shorts. And this is the data that I collected. So let's see. What should our title be? Can we get the title right off of the table? We can. Let's call it Favorite Books. Now, you'll notice on this one here, they've already scaled it for you. They've scaled it by ones going up. But they didn't put the categories in. So here's our 3 categories. Now, how in the world are we going to get the miraculous journey of Edward Tulane all on that line? We won't. Let's just put Ed for Edward. Ed. The second one is click, clack, moo, cows that type. We could put, let's just put cows. And then for the third one, Zen Shorts, we'll just put Zen. All right. Finally, we're going to put our data on here. 11 people picked that book here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Cows was 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And Zen, that was 5. Okay, so there you have it. Which book was the most popular? The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. And then you can see that Zen was the least popular. Zen Shorts. So we could then use this information again to compare, and we could probably make some pretty good predictions of what other classes might think based on what our class thinks. So these are the 2 examples that I was going to give you today so that you can get your work started. And you know what I thought? I thought, what if, since we're all home anyway, what if you did some more surveys? Who could you ask? And what question could you ask? And what would your categories be? So if you want to take that upon yourself today after you get your math work finished, I'd love for you to take a picture of the survey of the data that you collect and the graph that you make. And you don't have to print off a bunch of copies of this unless you want to. You really can use, I don't know if you've noticed, but just about on the back of every page in our workbook is graph paper. So you probably could use the back of one of our sheets to draw your graph on too. So that's an option. So once you've finished this page here, which is lesson 4 problem set, the first page, you're going to complete a horizontal bar graph and then answer some questions. And then the second page is the vertical bar graph. Oh, look what they did to you guys. They did not put your scale on here. So you know what I need you to do? I need you to remember that right here, this bottom line here is 0. See that? And the very next line here is 1. You got to be careful. Number the lines, not the spaces, okay? Use as a guide, use the one that I've been using here. How to number it, all right? And then you'll answer your questions and you can write a comparison question. All right, have a great day of learning, guys. See you later.